to render the Rotary prayer and the four-way test. Rotarian Maithili Shanmugam, Chair Youth Service.
Prayer. O God, creator of all things, Father of mankind, we thank Thee for inspiring our founder with the principles of Rotary based on high ideals of morality. We implore Thee to help us Rotarians to imbibe deeply the true Rotary spirit and to labor incessantly for the establishment of peace and goodwill among all people, for the elimination of all bars of color, creed, and clime, for the removal of economic and social barriers, and for the proper understanding of the sanctity and human personality, and the dignity of labor, so that all individuals, all families, and all nations may live in amity and fellowship and unity around the holy feet, and hold Thee as though really art our one true, eternal, and all loving Father.
Now the four-way test.
The four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Will it build and better friendships?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you, Rotarian Maithili Shanmugam. Well, I take this opportunity to welcome our speaker, Dr. K. Paul Danagar, MPharm, FCA, DRM, PhD, CRISC, Director, RC, CNK and Associates, LLP, BOG, IIA. And this is, I believe it's a golden opportunity for the students to get to know what are the opportunities available, because nowadays we are in the pandemic period. Many have lost their jobs, but still jobs are available. I strongly believe that Dr. Paul Jayakar will give an eye-opener talk on leveraging the placement opportunities in the industry. There are so many jobs still available. So this is just to inform you and keep you apprised of the opportunities available around the globe. I also take this opportunity to welcome the members of Rotary Club of Coimbatore Elite, the senior Rotarian, veteran, Professor Dr. Santana Krishnan sir, Rotarian Prasanna Krishnan madam, Rotarian Subramanian sir, and Secretary Rotarian Manigandan. And all the students who are taking part in this discussion from the Bharatiyar University. I give a special welcome to the students because it is the encouragement given by the students which will make us have more and more such programs. And I strongly believe this talk is going to be very much useful and highly informative to the students as well as to the members of Rotary Club of Coimbatore Elite. So with these few words, I request Maithili Shanmugam to introduce the chief guest.
Good evening all. I'm Maithili, Chair Youth Service of Rotary Coimbatore Elite. And now I'm proud to introduce our renowned chief guest, Dr. K. Paul Jayakar, Director, GRC, CNK, and Associate LLP, BOG, IIA. He is a professor fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountant of India since 1981. He is ranked 49th in All India rank in the intermediate exam. He completed post-qualification diploma in Insurance and Risk Management from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He is certified in Risk and Information System Control. He completed his PhD under University of Mysore in 2005. He completed MCom in University of Mysore, completed his BCom in Loyola College, Madras. He is currently a Director IT and RMS, CNK and Associates, LLP Chartered Accountants. He is an independent director of Panasonic Carbon India Limited. He has domestic domain experience in financial institution, manufacturing, airports, seaports, service industry, infrastructure, and power plants. He is doing consultancy in the area of digital forensic audit and analytics, business process re-engineering, data analytics for business, risk-based internal audits, implementation of information system. He's handling consultancy assignment on HIPAA and related healthcare systems and security risk analysis. He has expertise in overseas assignments in the country USA, Malaysia, and Sri Lanka. He has teaching experience in various subjects like management, IT related areas. He has teaching experience in various institutions like University of Madras, IITM, Meenakshi College for Women, and NITA, IFMR Madras, Institute of Chartered Accountants, OTL Academy Madras. He has presented papers in the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, All India Regional and CPE seminars, ISACA regional seminars, and SIRC study circles, and also in University of Madras. He is a professional membership of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, ISACA, Institute of Internal Audits, Board of Governor, and past President, Madras chapter. Today, we are privileged to have an opportunity to listen to him this evening. On behalf of all gathering, I welcome you, sir, to this evening. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Rotarian Maithili Shanmugam. Well, so we are blessed to have such a talk from such an eminent personality, Dr. K. Paul Jayakar. Well, I also take this opportunity to extend a warm welcome to our Rotarian Mayur Kikani, past president of Rotary Club of Coimbatore Elite. Now, I request the chief guest of today's event, Dr. K. Paul Jayakar, to take over. Sir, the session is all yours. Welcome.
Thank you, sir, and I'll get started. Yes. I just reduced my video so I can just quickly run through this presentation. I thank the Rotary Club of Coimbatore, the youth service. I thank Mr. Amartya Gadesaran. Thank you, sir. You had also called and we had spoken for some time. Thank you very much for calling me, Mr. Manikandan, the secretary, and Mrs. Maithili Shanmugam, the chair, youth service. I also thank my very old friend, Mr. Subramaniam. He suddenly called me up one day and
ഞാൻ വന്നിട്ട് ഇന്നേക്ക് കൊറിയർ പണ്ട ഒരു ബോക്സിൽ வந்து இந்த ப்ராஜெக்ட் மூணும் ரெக்கார்ட் ரெண்டும் ஒட்டுக எல்லாமே டோட்டலா 5 அந்த ஒரு பாக்ஸ்க்குள்ள வச்சிட்டு அது வந்து இந்த செல்லோ டேப் இருக்குல்ல பிரவுன் கலர் அந்த வச்சு ஒட்டி அதுக்குள்ள போட்டுட்டு அப்புறம் ஒரு பேப்பர்ல அட்ரஸ் ஃப்ரம் டு அட்ரஸ் எல்லாம் எழுதி அதுவும் அதுல ஒட்டிச்சு வச்சிட்டு எனக்கு வந்து ஸ்பீட் போஸ்ட்க்கு 165 தான் ஆயிடுச்சு.
Yes. So anyway, we will just go ahead with this.
Yeah.
Now the first slide I wanted to show you is we have got various branches of studies when we talk about the humanities and sciences in arts colleges, and today many engineering colleges are also starting up arts colleges. We have a lot of certificate and diploma courses offered by both professional institutes and colleges. The thing is, publicity wise, maybe it's not very wide, but that's my job today to kind of make as much, give these courses as much visibility as possible. So if you look at, just to put a few slides, these are from the internet, so, and they're all source also I've included, so they're all verifiable. Now we say that a lot of Indians between 15 and 29 years are unemployed. Okay, they are neither in employment nor in education or training. Now looking at population, we know China is bigger than us, I mean population wise, much larger, but their unemployment is much less. We are very close to South Africa, which is the 36 highest. We are 30.83. Now, we need to analyze why is it that we have unemployment. Mainly there are a number of reasons, mostly there are historic reasons. We still work with the traditional industries because I still see a lot of young students telling me I'm going to write a bank exam, I'm going to join the post office, I'm going to take up some government job. I mean, those jobs are all shrinking. They're not there anymore. So the reason for unemployment is the courses have not kept in tune with the changes in the industry and the employer's requirements. If you look at another diagram which talks about the contribution to the money the country makes, if you look at agriculture, when I go to the actual population, you'll find almost 53% works in agriculture, but their contribution is only 3%. The largest is coming to us from tourism. It's also coming from construction, manufacturing, power generation, and so on. And then we are also having this government administrative jobs, but these are at the higher level. Today, many government offices have got rid of peons, housekeeping. They've outsourced almost everything. Transport and communication, we have, of course, these figures will change there based on government data. So accuracy may be like 80% accurate, so 70% accurate. But what I want to stress on is, if you leave agriculture out, which a lot of people work in, and look at all the others, where we are specifically the other services, tourism, etc. We actually, tourism is not just visitors and tourists. We have peculiar terms today called medical tourism, where people come to India for medical treatment. We have a lot of tourisms today where they're not visitors. I mean, they're not coming to see India, but they're coming here for a purpose. So tourism includes all of them. So I maybe didn't break it up, but tourism includes all of them. And if you look at this last side, where we look at agriculture, which is about almost 54%, which takes away the number of people working. Industry is about 29 and services is 17. But we know that industry and services contribute much more than agriculture, because I want you to understand, though there are, of course, the rural agriculture people are reducing today. They're all studying, they're coming to cities and so on. But still, the reason why agriculture is unable to sustain high employment is because of mechanization. They started using a lot of machines in agriculture. Lots of machines. I mean, until we go to the tractors, tillers, factories, we don't see all those machines, reapers, harvesters, combine, extractors. They use a lot of machines, which means they don't need manpower like they used to require years ago. Now, with this introduction, if I quickly run you through the rest of my slides. Now, I'm concentrating mainly on bachelor's degree students, but master's also, yes, in the domain of humanities. Don't worry about all these jobs. I'll go into detail. That is one thing. Second is industry retains professionals. It's called retention policy. Why do we have to think of undergraduates as being more retainable? Because they don't change jobs as frequently as the higher qualified people, the software people or the PhDs or postgraduate people. So we are going by industry statistics, mostly the larger industry statistics. A simple example is between a diploma holder and an engineer, an automotive factory would prefer a diploma holder. Between a BCom and a chartered accountant, they would prefer a BCom to do the GST or whatever work. So that's what I'm trying to say. It's nothing more than that. Now, if we come, I'll go one by one. There are various professions available. Let's look at consulting. Now, professionals, they get into a lot of consulting work. What do we mean by consulting? Basically, you're not an employee. That's the whole definition. You're not an employee or an outsider. Those days, very old days, consultant was an expert. But today, it's not necessary. I mean, even if you knew the work an employee knew, they would hire you as a, when you say outsourced employee or a contract employee. Now we are using the word consultant. They'll hire you as a consultant instead of as an employee. So that's the definition here. Now we are looking at corporations here, refer to companies, governments, in fact, almost everything, railways, godowns, warehouses, tax departments, a lot of these have gone in for, in fact, their entire income tax processing. The CPC center at Bangalore is run by TCS. It's not run by the government of India. And then we have the NGOs, NPOs, etc. They keep looking for these kind of experts who are not employees, but who just work on contract basis. So you can do a lot of things. You can create industry analysis, evaluate organizations. Okay, I'll go into details of each of these. Work profile, of course, since we are on contract, you have extensive traveling, long hours, but of course you're paid well, but there's no job security. I mean, that we all have to understand that as the country goes from developing to developed, the concept of job security goes away. And if you've seen the new laws on the labor laws, you will also see that there's a lot of difference there. You don't have much of, you can hire and fire people. The laws are changed. Then we go into professionals who work in market research. Earlier, India was a demand-driven country. We had shortage of goods and everything was in short supply, right from food grains to luxury items. You book a scooter, you had to wait for years to get it. I mean, today youngster will not know those things. I mean, you have to stand in queues to buy ration rice or sugar. A youngster today has no idea what we are talking about. The supply has far exceeded the demand. Now comes the big headache. We have to do market research because we have to sell, we have to satisfy the consumer, we have to have brand loyalty, we have to work on. In fact, there was no such thing called a loyalty program. But today we need to look at all those. So research skills, who uses these market research skills? In education, even today, any private college or university likes to work with popular courses, saleable courses, profitable courses. Publishing, we all know that slowly the newspapers, and even before the pandemic, newspapers started moving away. Younger generation reads their social media or their WhatsApp or whatever, or Twitter or something. They don't really read newspapers and books. NGOs and NPOs, government agencies today are working very hard to get brand loyalty, including very large companies like Co-optex, HHEC, and in fact some companies are almost closed like Minerals and Metal Trading Corporation, MMTC, STC. We don't hear of them much now. And we also have financial institutions. Everybody's got some scheme or the other. They're selling you a loan, a plan or something. Plenty of startups who get funding from both India and abroad. Then what are the job responsibilities? You look at all the, what is the company offering? Whether you're doing fundraising research, because market research includes funding also. Then who buys it? Who will sell it? Where will you store it? How will you distribute it? That's market research. Public opinion is the loyalty, sentiment analysis, those kind of things. So here we have a lot of openings. In fact, today with computers and search engines, any number of people can be employed here. We do it for not only for India. India does it for the rest of the world. So there are plenty of job opportunities here. Maybe a little bit of training would be required. Building on that market research part, we can move to analytics, which is not just market research, but any kind of data which is being analyzed. So that's why we said across industry sectors, it doesn't matter what sector, even things like films, movies, TV channels. Right now there's a scam on the TRP rating for a news channel. But we know today people watch Netflix, they use Hotstar. I mean, things have changed completely. So in fact, the problem they're having today is if the theaters open, will they really have takers? Because almost everybody's got into this content, this video on demand kind of thing. So data analytic careers have become quite a big thing now. If you're particularly on commerce, maths, statistics, computer science, if you're on any of those, or very specialized areas like sociology, psychology, you can look at being a big data engineer, a data scientist, report writers for data analysis. A database manager is not the software database manager, but these are people who manage the large data from outside. Then we have the people who decide what data we need, but this would probably, the data architect would probably be a computer science or a maths person. Business intelligence, anybody can fit in there, data modeler, data warehouse analyst, anybody will fit in there. Now, how much do we have to study? Not much. See, in the olden days, maths and statistics or everything was based on, you remember, formulae and do arithmetic. Today we have machines, computers, spreadsheets, there are a lot of software. So you don't have to remember anything. It's like a calculator, type a number, press the square root button, you'll get the answer. You don't have to find out how a square root is calculated. Now, if you look at the next one, you're all able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
if
sir, we
you're
are
on,
able to hear you.
yeah, if you're on the journalism, see, long back, English was absolute, even today it's absolutely necessary. But if we can handle journalism in other languages, because India does a lot of work for other countries. You must have heard of companies like Walter, Clovers, Springer, Wiley. They have publications in Europe, South America, and they work with different languages. Like most of the European languages, they work with Spanish. They work with Brazil. Brazil people have a language book. All these countries have languages. Africa also. So journalism has become, it's not the journals are not those books and magazines. These are actually publications, scientific journals, technical journals, books, and they've gone electronic now. So the speed of publication has increased. You don't need printing, posting them to different people, etc. So there are certificate courses, short-term courses, but you must have an aptitude. But there are short-term courses where you could do these diplomas in journalism and mass communication. It's a little difficult to define because it's not limited to books and magazines. It's also advertisement. Today we call them links. You click on it, electronic advertising. It's a whole lot of things where many times or most of the time you're not actually selling something. You're creating a market for it. It's called concept selling. And after the concept selling, you actually push it to the shops or stores or online websites for the actual sale. Now, this means you need to know how to handle the content, which is your whatever you're writing, plus also a little bit of technical aspects. It's not difficult, and today actually it's definitely encourage more and more people to go in for this because electronic media is becoming bigger and bigger, and most of the traditional people there are still copying the print media ideas into the electronic media. Which doesn't work. I mean, we need to look at new things. Then we have the social sector. This is a very large sector, not just in India, but if you take a country like Bangladesh, it survives only on the NGOs. Africa, we have the UNDP programs. A lot of Indians work with all these companies. So the social sector, actually today when we look at courses like medical psychology, which is now being offered in arts colleges, but of course you can't use the word medical, they use the word clinical or something. But basically they're not looking at, philosophy or that kind of psychological thinking. They're looking at people who are suffering from stress. Actually, maybe we don't realize this, but a lot of youngsters today have great ambitions. They want to make money fast. They get into high pressure jobs. They over promise and then they get into a big mess. The mind gets all tangled up. So they need a lot of help. Then we also have a lot of other areas like cultural issues and a lot of beliefs, and actually I put a lot of these things here, drug addiction, alcoholism, etc., etc. These are also needing a lot of attention now, not because it's increased, but because there's more visibility. Media makes a big noise about it. Government also jumps in from time to time. They need a lot of people, and funding is not in a short supply. A lot of funding is available, so they need youngsters who can actually get into this work. It's a lot of hard work because you actually have to move to the locations, you have to work with difficult people, illiterate people, hostile people, and those kind of people. The other side is you can work with funding conduits, grants, supports, research support, and so on. This is more a desk job, so that's not difficult. But the actual on-the-site social worker is a much more difficult job. Travel and tourism, we have to look at all the possibilities of travel and tourism. right from guides to preparing guidebooks, preparing websites, preparing virtual visits for locations, preparing what we call promotional videos for the tourism. There's a whole lot of things. I should put some numbers here from the US side, that doesn't matter. But basically, this is a very, very big industry because I don't know if you've ever seen a tour operator. Earlier, they used to work with students. It's called excursion. But today, they work with a lot of old people who are going for religious tours, medical tours. There are lots of things they do. So they even have these ashram tours. They have a whole lot of things. So it's become very big, but unfortunately, it is not properly advertised. So you'll have to locate these training courses and look at the jobs. Best is to search on the internet. There are lots of employers, but unfortunately, it's the colleges are not up to date. So they still have an old course called tourism or something, but they don't have these courses for the new problems. I mean, the new type of business. So we have to work with this new type of business. We have to identify opportunities and exploit it. Digital marketing means you're selling things through the computer world. I mean, it's a cyber world. You're doing it through your phones, web pages, social media. That includes all this Twitter, Facebook, etc., LinkedIn. You're doing it through electronic, like your Netflix and content management through electronic channels. There's a completely different approach here because we need to bring most of the ideas, concepts, particularly concepts, to younger people. See, the older people still read papers and newspapers and all that, so they are safe. But the younger people have no such habits. They don't read newspapers. They don't read anything basically. So they depend on their phones and TVs and audio also, to a large extent on audio. So digital marketing is one of the biggest industries. They have search engine optimization. You have a whole lot of web analytics, search engines. I mean, of course, this is a lot of work. Actually, it's not difficult because most of it is already there. The electronics is already there. It's the creative people who are missing, and programmers are creative in analytics, but they are algorithms. They are not creative in selling something or advertising something, drawing your attention. They are not very smart. And also, if you see the younger people, they use applications like Urban Clap, even a haircut, they'll do that. They fix appointments through their phones. Actually, the parents say they have no money for the internet, but these youngsters keep watching this WhatsApp and so many things. That is a very huge market, but it needs creativity. That's one thing which uh, maybe we don't develop it in schools, but I guess some of you students will have creativity. You can give it a try. This is the slightly older concept, the advertising, but I would concentrate on public relations, where public relations is like somebody came to your house to repair something. Next day, you get a phone call asking you, was he good? Was he polite? Did he solve your problem? Now they're collecting, we say feedback. In English, that's an old word. But basically, it's public relations because next time it goes wrong, you might have forgotten the technician who came, but you'll remember that, yeah, they are good people. They call and ask. Even the hospitals are doing that. They call and ask, did you take your medicines? Are you okay? You haven't turned up for your review. So that is called public relations. I mean, whatever name we call it, PRO or marketing or telemarketing. But basically, this is reminding people that we exist. So this is becoming a very big market again, and people like to be pampered. I mean, at least today when India is richer, people like to be pampered. And even if you're eating in a hotel, halfway down your meal, somebody comes and asks you, how do you like your food? Are you happy? You feel happy about it. So that's what we mean by this public relations. It's a very big field. Brand building. Now, see, lots of people are spending money. Brand building, because today you can sell a brand, not a company. At least from Chennai based, you know there's a hotel called Ponusami, there's some Ratna Cafe or Sarvanaban or something. In fact, we have some exams for the marketing students. If you ask who owns the Voltas brand, Voltas used to make air conditioners and all that. Today, the Voltas doesn't own the Voltas brand. It is owned by Tatas. Now you take MG, Morris Garages, MG is a famous British car. It is owned by China. I mean a Chinese company. So same thing for if you have a Volvo car, it belongs to a Chinese company called Geely. If you have a Jaguar, it belongs to an Indian company called Tata. So what is happening is brands are saleable. So brand management is becoming a very big topic, but we need to know finance for this because there are three things here. There's a money part, there's a technology part, and there's a marketing part. If you, as an youngster, if you feel you'll fit into all three, then brand building is definitely for you. You're not building brands just for KFCs and whatever those hotels and whatever. You're building brands for instance, most of the foreign brands like Arrow, whatever, this Peter England, all that, they're owned by only two companies, Madara Coats and Eskumars. So whenever you buy any foreign brand like thing, make sure it's like, it'll be Indian or it'll be Chinese. It'll be one of these two, most probably. So we know this brand has got a very huge value. Brand building is very important. Now they build brands even for hospitals. They call it corporate hospitals. They build brands for medicines. They build brands for almost every possible thing. Even education is a brand. No, like you have some famous name, IIM, IIT. They run executive courses for 6 lakhs for a matter of maybe 15 days or 20 days. Why is the course selling? It's the brand. It's not the course. So brand building is used by a lot of people. Now this is something which all the universities started, but then they backed out of it after a few years because mainly they couldn't find teachers. But what I would suggest is if anybody is in teaching, call people from venture capitalist companies, this what you call PE, private equity lenders, call from these various startup companies. So they talk to the students. Entrepreneurship today is a very important thing because there are a lot of youngsters who don't get jobs because maybe they are in rural places or maybe for many reasons they may be handicapped. They may parents, I mean, they don't want them to travel far away, particularly girls. So what happens is they get so fed up that I've studied so much, I'm not able to do anything. So they start doing small things. And today you have online sales. You can sell your products online. It can be small things. I mean, maybe handmade something, jewelry or bags or something, but you can sell it. Earlier you couldn't sell it because you had to find distributors, you needed working capital. It was a big hassle. Today it's very easy. So as an entrepreneur, sometimes we have students at least I see them in the city colleges where they're doing side business. So entrepreneurship, something they're doing and they're selling it online. Maybe they're not millionaires, but they make a small amount, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 a month to pay their fees or whatever. Without traveling, without working. It's not like working for Swiggy or any of those. This is you sit at home, you put it online. If somebody buys it, they buy it. So it's as simple as that. Of course, the commission has to go to the website. That's why I said many of them launch their first venture while studying in high school or college because they're very small. I'm not saying they're big businesses, but they have their own market. They sell it to specific people and they're quite happy with it. But of course, it can become something big. I'm not saying it won't become big. I'm just saying it can start anytime, any size. Now, we have a lot of other careers, so I thought I should shorten the slides. One is editors are people who read and correct and check the context of books or news items or whatever. We need a lot of those people. Lawyers, international lawyer, of course, you have to go to a law college to do this. Lawyers are not always the people with black coats and high coats. They sell stamp paper or they'll be fighting. So they are not those. We are talking about people who deal with drafting of documents. We'll call them corporate lawyers. They get a desk job. They get a salary. They draft documents. They handle intellectual property, trademarks, copyrights, cyber law cases. They prepare briefs. They work for legal back offices like LexisNexis or Office Tiger. That's the lawyers I'm talking about, not the ones who go to the court. I mean, you can always go there, but there are much better corporate jobs where you can work 10 to 5 kind of. Research scientists, most researchers try to end up in teaching. Very few really go into honest research. So if you have a real taste for research scientists, you can pursue it. Sales representatives today it's a very big business. Not those untrained sales representatives, but these are trained people. And again, what are they selling? They're selling concepts, not products. So they're trying to sell you loans, they're trying to sell you property, they're trying to sell you investment facilities, they're trying to sell you hospital treatment. Those are the kind of real sales representatives which the market is lacking. The standard salesmen, we have plenty of them. Outdoor guides, but you need training. These are the people who take all these MNC employees, hill trekking, hill climbing, whatever, mountaineering or forest, whatever. You need some training, you need a license also. Journalist, reporter, I've already told you. Now, intelligence analyst is not the police. Of course, you can work in the police, but you need to get selected. I mean, otherwise they won't take you. Now, a lot of cyber crime and a lot of forensic work is done today by lawyers and auditors who prepare what is called a brief, which has to go to the court. Now, you need a lot of evidence for it. So they need people who sit at desks. I mean, they have to run through a lot of news items, or they may have to do huge searches on databases and whatever articles, laws, facts, dates, and then prepare these cases. It's a very interesting job, but you must have an aptitude to stay at what you're doing. A case may take even 3-4 years to complete, like a fraud case or a drug smuggling case can take a long time. Actually, I've been focusing a lot on these technical writers because today we have very few technical writers. All these English, BA English and all that, they're going back to the telemarketing companies. They're talking English on phones. Now we need people who write these manuals, how to do things, standard operating procedures. We have documents which are needed legally called policies and procedures. And then, of course, you have those machine manuals and so on. It's a very huge market. Not many are coming here because many are not aware of this market existing. And also translators. If you have a knowledge of a foreign language, you can translate for the embassy itself. They pay you well. Of course, social worker, I told you. Proofreader is different from an editor. Proofreader checks the language. Editor corrects and he has to make sure facts are correct. So editor needs more skill, proofreader needs less skill. Then we have the government careers. I'm looking at anthropology graduates, those who study this evolution of mankind, all those things. I can be an archaeologist, cultural anthropologist, geologist, historian, now see museum curator. Now, do we really have jobs here? Originally, long back, no, because everything was the government. Archaeology was government, museums were government, everything was government. Today, there are private museums, there are private collectors, there are art dealers, there are people who are writing history books. There are a lot of people who do this and they keep asking, can I get an assistant who can help me with my study of, this has something called it Belt Road Initiative. China calls it the Silk Road. And a lot of 2 or 3 big authors are writing books on the economic and history kind of. They say, can you get some students for me? We cannot find them because they're just not available. We got history students, we got literature students, but there's nobody who's able to sit and do some research on this. Then we have park interpreters. Today we have all kinds of parks, not just the tree kind of parks. We got organics is becoming a very big thing. So we have a large market here, oceanographers and so on. If you have a taste for this, it's a nice job actually, but you have to keep reading all the time. So it's one of those difficult things. So, but it's a good job and not much of competition. Then archaeology, of course, we have all these anthropologies, almost overlaps. When we talk about these park rangers and technical writers are those who write about the parks, mainly content writing about the park, you put it on websites, attract visitors and so on. But when you look at these archivists, and archiving itself has become a course, one of the universities in India is tied up with the Indian Archives, here, Department of Archives, to offer this course where you take care of old documents, preservation. Of course, it goes into the museum kind of work, but it's very specialized because this is paper, palm leaves, rock, stone, all kinds of stuff. So that's also a very big opening. These are the newer courses, but you'll hardly find them Not even one whole state will have one college offering it. Then art history graduates, of course, see art as India was so poor, nobody paid for the art. Painters were very, like they were poverty stricken. But today I'm not talking about famous painters like M.F. Hussain and all that. I'm talking about normal painters. You see them in offices, in hotels. So there are a lot of people who are working with art galleries, a lot of things where they sell them. Then of course you have the restoration, people who write history about this art. It is a big job, but again, when we go to the fine art students, they are not working on anything practical. They are mostly on theory. Maybe cartoonists we'll get, but we're not really getting people who know business to run a gallery or enough to maintain or restore a painting or even pottery or whatever. So these, again, we have only a government college in Madras. But anyway, these are newer areas which are worth exploring and getting into jobs, because see, a new job will last 20, 30 years at least till everybody in India is studying the same thing. Geography, again, a huge thing. We're doing maps today. Maps are dynamic, like Google Maps, whatever. Community planning is also becoming very important because of CSR, and today we got a whole lot of things to do with the community. Then all these geographers who are economic or forestry technicians, we need a lot of afforestation, not just here. We have forest fires in Indonesia, US, a lot of places. They're looking for a lot of these people. Very few are available. Then we have water experts, hydrologists, park rangers, etc. So we have a whole, and soil conservation also very important, because we have these land sites, etc. Now, infrastructure companies keep looking for soil conservationists. They'll get civil engineers, but they don't get building conservationists and soil conservationists. Only 2 or 3 architectural colleges which are specializing in all these special areas. So we need to, they are very good jobs. You can last a lifetime with them, because as the population grows, more landslides, more of erosion. And now since we have more seaports, we have this dredging problem also. Silt, we have a lot of openings available. History graduates, almost the same thing which I mentioned earlier, but there's one called a political scientist, where you study politics and history together. Becomes very important, because today a lot of people doing research on Sanskrit, on Hinduism, they are not able to find the right type of history graduates to support them. Basically, actually we get a lot of literature on Sanskrit from Germany. We got a lot of scholars overseas are doing it. Maybe it's time we got into it, so maybe look at it. But you need a taste for it. I mean, international relations. See, foreign service is civil service is exam. If I leave that out, it's a very difficult exam. The rest of them are within your reach, like intelligence analyst, international diplomats. See, basically, these are language translators, military officers on short-term commission, but you should have been in the NCC or something. Political analysts, you have any number of magazines, news channels, etc. So international relations, which at one time we thought was, like only an ambassador or somebody who's talking from one country to the other. Today we have a whole lot of jobs. The most difficult and person to find and the most available job is a language translator. Finding it extremely difficult. We get French, we get Korean and all that. But suppose you get somebody from China. You don't have much of translators, and certain Gulf countries as Persian, Arabic, etc. In fact, subtitling for movies is done in India, and we have a college called New College in Madras, which is a Muslim college. They have Arabic as one of the second languages. Most of the Arabic students and the professors are doing the subtitling for movies for the Middle East. A short of people like Malay is also, they do a lot of subtitles. Rajnikant movies are very popular in Japan. They do Japanese subtitles. There are ever so many jobs available, but of course we have to learn the language. Then liberal arts, of course, yes, we have the entertainers, etc. But this is liberal arts is not really taken off. We don't pay much for entertainers. Of course, musicians they pay, but dramas and all that not yet. Film editors, these are always available. Content writers, copywriters. We have a lot of those openings, which are traditional. Library science, actually, I'm working with the university now, helping them with their digital library. Problem is they think if you scan the books and put it on the server, it becomes a digital library. No, that's not a digital library. It's much more than that. So we need to look at searches, cataloging, indexing. It's like a whole lot of work. I mean, it's like basically we search and immediately we want the answers. So that is where library science, okay, we have the traditional jobs. And if you see, all of them are today online. I mean, electronic encyclopedias also are either CDs or online or subscription based. So if you look, except maybe the school librarian or college librarian or public libraries are going digital. So if any of the students are interested, you can look at the Anna Digital Library in Chennai. You could look at the VIT library, or maybe just go online and see. There's no problem. Now we have all these people who handle this linguistics. Now here, okay, of course we have document examiners, librarians, these are traditional. Now we have another form, which is the study of language in oral and written historical sources. I'll share this presentation soon. Now, there are a lot of languages which have no written but only oral, like even in Andaman, some of the tribes, they only speak. In Orissa, some of the tribes only speak. And now they want to retain or preserve or conserve those languages. The other part is the cryptoanalysts. See, what they do is it's basically there are two ways of looking at it. One is on the computer cryptography. The other is when people wrote documents years ago, maybe in hieroglyphics or maybe Hebrew or Aramaic or whatever. And we need somebody to decode them. They also, because today the word cryptanalyst, we automatically think only of a computer man who's decrypting the encryption. But you can think of him as someone who's reading difficult to read symbols or languages. Then philosophy, actually, this is something which I'd like to look at. I safely put the word clergy because this doesn't mean a priest, a pastor, or a mullah or something. It doesn't mean that. Today we have a lot of people who handle discourses, who explain different scriptures to youngsters, who do a lot of work. Mainly they give lectures, for whatever we call them, Swamijis or religious leaders or discourses or whatever. Remember, it needs a lot of study. This is not just history, it's a lot more than that. Explaining a book like Bhagavad Gita or something with the right background, it's not going to be easy. And you also have other kinds of things, like we have diplomats, not always the government diplomats. We have other kind of what we call country-specific diplomats. They send them for trade. Of course, defense officer. Short term is easy. Long term, you have to pass the NDA exam. And this is what I told you. This physician, and I was talking about the psychology. Now, many times psychology and philosophy get linked together because of socio-economic parameters. And this is a course we are putting together for another medical college. But the difficulty here is doctors are not philosophers and philosophers don't like medicine. So these are the combinations we need. So youngsters have to look at these different combinations. You just study the traditional stuff which was done 100 years ago. We say Madras University is so many 100 years old. Calcutta University, but that's too old. I mean, building is fine, but the courses have to be up to date. Then political science graduates, we have the statistical study of elections, septology, which is very important. In fact, there's a case in the US where they said that the opinion polls are preventing people from voting. The problem was East Coast of US starts voting first, New York side. By the time the mid has finished voting, almost 2/3 of the population has been completed voting. So the guys on the West Coast are not interested because depending on who has voted, age group, religion, race, whatever, these statistical people, the election predictors, they're able to tell you who will win. They don't know the actual vote, but they know this type of person will vote for this particular type of candidate. So the other jab say, look, why should we vote? Anyway, the result is already clear. So the government said you cannot give poll statistics till the poll is completed. They can do a pre-poll, but not during the poll. So if you look at that, this is a very important study. And then we have these, I told again, diplomats. These are all foreign services, embassy attaché, you have to pass an exam. Government lobbyists, we have plenty of them, actually they call liaison agents. They do a lot of work with the getting licenses, getting your ideas across so that they pass a certain GOs or whatever in the government and so on. It's a very big job. Government lobbies are needed worldwide, not just in India. It's a worldwide phenomenon. In India, of course, we do need them. Then social science general graduates. These counselors mostly work in colleges. They work with students. They work in prisons. They work with different people. So today they got a fancy name for it. It's called a social scientist. For social work graduates, where we got special schools, like they call them social work schools or whatever. One of the important things is talking to old people as they get old. We need to keep informing them how to get along, because you know the average age of an Indian pre-independence from 54 years, it is now almost 80 plus years. 54 was the age at which most Indians died, so the government fixed their retirement age at 58. They said you won't live till 58, so that's fine. But today, in fact, they've stopped the pensions also after 2004. They don't give pensions to people also. Anyway, but the point is, it's called geriatrics. Actually, it's a bunch of medicine, but this is basically handling those old people, telling them, look, don't worry, you'll be okay. You're not going to get affected, etc., etc. Then we have younger people who need a lot of marriage counseling. Then we also have rehabilitation, because once there's a shift in the way things are made, factories, schools, colleges, teachers and factory workers and social workers and a lot of people need to be rehabilitated. It's becoming a very big job. Earlier, nobody thought of it. You had an engine driver, a nurse, a doctor, electricity department. They used to work night shifts. They didn't have a problem. Today, we have these young fellows working on software companies or BPOs. They say, I'm working nights, I'm getting stressed, I'm getting some problems, so they need counseling. So these are things we understand. So I thought we'll just quickly look at the slide. Now, if you look at this slide, see in India, the education part, if you look at how things have been going, see the higher education is something which Indians are looking for. But does it really help? So if you start at the bottom with the school, and we have this new education policy, which you probably have already gone through in the Rotary in some other context. As you come up, you go to the universities, you keep studying more and more. But are we creating employable people? That is the problem. Now, the answer is no, because as we discussed so much now, we see there are many new jobs. Now, for instance, mobile phone repair is a big thing. But who repairs the mobile phones? Basically, illiterate chaps who run mobile shops, or smugglers, or some school dropouts or something. You don't find an electronic engineer doing much there. Basically, because he was never taught all these things. He was taught something which is all theory. Now, if you take things like aeronautic maintenance, we have to tie up with foreign companies to open those MROs. They're called maintenance and repair organizations. Now, if you take anything nursing, if you take, for instance, proofreaders, for instance. Proofreaders, we are having a lot of problem because when you have paper, you can make the correction with a pen, and then the composer will understand it. But today you have to do it electronically. So we say you put a flag, you do this, you do that, etc. But then is it happening? We don't know. So that's the problem. So we need to rechange or redefine what we learn at every point. That's why I took this thing from world education, but basically we're looking at India now. And you'll also find we have a lot of people going abroad for studies rather than coming in for studies. I'll tell you the problem. You don't get a medical seat, they go to study in a WHO college, somewhere Poland, China, somewhere. When they come back, they have to pass the Indian Medical Council screening exam. They don't pass. So what they do is they get jobs in companies where they type ICD coding, International Classification of Diseases. They type those numbers for the insurance claims. And they get start with about 40,000, they get about 75,000 when they are pretty old, a senior. You know what they tell me, this is better than being a doctor because you don't have to work night shifts, there are no patients, there's no medical negligence, they are happy. Well, if they are happy, that's fine. So we have created a new sequence of jobs where these outbound people come back and work with those kind of jobs. This is an example of doctors. We have MBAs who go abroad and come back. We have a lot of people doing this. They are all coming back and they work here for markets abroad. I mean, nothing wrong, but basically that could have been done in India itself. I mean, they didn't have to go all the way outside to come back and work here. Now, when we look at the higher education, of course, the boys and girls are broken up. So we have the undergraduate, which is a huge thing. We have diploma, others, and postgraduate. Now, if you notice, undergraduate, you have more girls. Postgraduate, also we have slightly more girls. One of the reasons for this is many girls take up education to wait till they get married. This is one of the studies we have found. Or if they have started working, they stop working when they get married. Thereafter, coming back to the mainstream is next to difficult because impossible. Because the industry is so dynamic. It's not like olden days, where if somebody made a cool drink, it was standard method of making it. It's not so today. There's so many things are changing. Machines are changing. So even a hotel waiter takes an order on a tab or on a smartphone. He's not writing something. So they have software to do it. Everything's getting so complicated. So maybe one of the things we need to encourage people is continue your studies, keep the study continuously, and then start working and take only short breaks. Don't disappear for 8 years, 10 years, and then come back. And if you look at this inclusive growth, are we pulling in poor people? Are we pulling in rural people? Are we pulling in illiterate people, etc.? For a score of 7, this is India ratings. We are nowhere, almost only in the 3. Only 1 we are reaching 4 for corruption and rents. But everything else, for instance, education, we are very low. Employment and labor compensation, we are very low. Asset building, entrepreneurship, very low. See, these are the new areas I spoke about where you can enter entrepreneurship. You can do a lot of things here. Financial intermediation of real economy investment, very low. Basic services infrastructure, very low. I can ask the question why? Because we are not looking at jobs in these areas. We want traditional jobs, post office, government, bank, teacher, nurse, something like that. Nobody is looking at running service departments, handling event management, those kind of the newer things which we are talking about, like clergy which lectures on, say, Sanskrit or something. There are ever so many new requirements like medical counseling done by a non-medical graduate, a college undergraduate or a postgraduate. Those are the jobs we are missing out very badly. I can tell you why also, at least from my limited knowledge from Chennai. If you talk to a parent and say, why don't you make a son or daughter into a counselor, say for let's say slightly mentally disabled people, they think it's something wrong. I mean, it's bad. No, they'll study BCom, they'll go for a job, something. Nobody wants to look at them. So that's why we talk about this inclusive growth. We need to break a lot of taboos, push our youngsters into the newer jobs. I'm sure the youngsters listening will surely understand this and open to questions. So this is what we are talking in India's advantage. We have a huge domestic market, large middle class. Our average age is also very low compared to other countries. We have a large investments flowing in. I don't know the numbers. We have flowing in from Indian PE funds and investors. We have foreigners also putting in a lot of money. We have policy supports. It's not just the Make in India. We have import policies. We have import against capital exports. We have a lot of policies and rebates, drawbacks, etc. Which again, many, sometimes the smaller charter accounts are not even aware of it. Even scholarships, nobody seems to know. Then competitive advantages. We have a lot of young people who can train and work, who can be trained to work. And of course, we have, as we are approaching our full manufacturing potential, not just for this, but for food also. If you know a company called Lanson, they are well known for, they're a Toyota dealer, so they're well known for Toyotas, but that's not their core business. The core business, they export puppets to Europe, mainly England, which is sold in the pubs. So they're a food exporter, so or pre-made food exporter. So we have a lot of those options available. So if you want to ask any questions, I will take them. I want to thank the organizers once again. Thank you very much, sir and madam, for the excellent opportunity you have given me. I got my mail. I am open to any questions which you could ask me.
It's open for discussion now. I request the students to raise questions. Any doubts, any clarification required, please feel free.
Even the organizers can ask, so maybe they're feeling shy to ask. So if you
Yeah.
articulate their feelings, then I can maybe one or two answers, then they'll join up.
See, in the last slide, I'm very much disturbed to note that as far as corruption rate is concerned, our rank is 8 out of 38.
Yes, sir.
Saddening to note.
Yes, sir. We are very high up on the corruptions.
Yeah.
So,
on so many counts,
yes,
we have scored only less, very less.
Yes, sir.
Asset building and entrepreneurship, 31.
No, so actually what is happening is there are two problems. So one, parents have already decided what their children should do. I mean, I'm not blaming any parent, but
Yeah.
they have already got preconceived notions. If they come for what we call the other paramedical courses like physiotherapy or whatever, they feel, no, you should become a doctor. But the honest truth is, paramedics make more money than doctors sometimes, or most of the time. But nobody, they say geriatrologist. They're not interested. The parent says, no, it's not the right choice for my child. But as the population ages, we are exporting so many people to Canada, to US, to Europe, just to take care of the old people, and their incomes are much higher than a medical doctor in India. So they are not able to understand. We give them statistics, but nobody believes it. So other thing is to run those courses. Also, colleges are lazy. We have to start a new course, find new teachers. They just want to do because it's like consumer, like marketing. Now, if I sell BCom, everybody is willing to join BCom. Some colleges collect donation for BCom also. So they're happy. I mean, college is happy, student is happy, parent is happy. Employer is not happy. He wants a fellow who knows Tally, GST, and income tax filing and accounts. He doesn't get that job. So that is the truth, sir. Actually, it's if the parents were a little open-minded, I think India could do much more wonderful things.
It's because of the obsessions and the obsession we have now.
Yes, we always see the historic parts.
Yeah,
we are not seeing the future. That is the problem.
Sir, can I ask a question?
Sure, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Sir, you have given an excellent presentation covering all areas.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
And are lying, depending on the skill set developed by individual. Plus, what I felt is, today most of the A-grade institutions have got their separate placement cell in the colleges.
Correct. Yes.
Now you really look into some of the government colleges or some of the universities, they don't have any placement division as such.
Correct. Yes.
They need to hire somebody, somebody will come and there is no guidance to the students where to look out for opportunities.
Yes.
Can't we make, I think, we need to give a representation. This is a suggestion only to government that, this position of placement officer, he should be a person who is well capable of guiding the students. Where to apply for depending on his skill set. I think that's an area where we need to look into it, because today you have given a very wide area of opportunities. Today we have covered a whole lot of job opportunities lying elsewhere. Normally during our days, like you said, we look out for bank job or lecturer's job. Something, our vision was limited. Today, it's so wide. And I think, we require a lot of tutoring to the students, and these are all the opportunities available. We need to look into it. Then our unemployment rate will come down drastically.
Yes, sir. Actually, sir, one of the reasons for our industry suffering is they have to take freshers and train them again, which is a cost to the company. If they're at least 50% trained, the employer will find it I mean, much more happier to take them in. Sir, your suggestion is good, sir, the placement part. But actually what's happening is in some of the poorer locations like Maharashtra, in backward Maharashtra, progressive states, Maharashtra, Gujarat, whatever the Tamil Nadu, Kerala and so on, the NGOs have taken a lot of initiative in this. They go to the rural colleges, not the city ones. They go to the real backward colleges and they have started teaching them some kind of English and some basic survival skills.
Yeah.
Not survival skills, but basic employable skills. They changed the name to career skills or something. But they are giving them, in fact, just today there was an academic council meeting where they wanted this organic farming. They want this compost because a lot of agricultural waste available. Normally they set fire to it. So now they want to convert it. They want those people to work there. It's because we have agricultural colleges in the rural areas. We are not teaching them anything. The poor fellows are paying huge fees for 4 years, and not like Coimbatore and Madurai and all that. Those agricultural colleges don't even have teachers, proper teachers to start with. So these NGOs are helping them to do it. And whatever they produce is bought back by the industries. So also you're making them into entrepreneurs. But it's a tough call, sir. I mean, let's say if Lions or Rotary took it up, it'll be a tough job. I mean, it's not easy.
You have shown it in pie chart where opportunity lies. You know, you said about tourism.
Sir, it is India is like a big world, sir. Every location, the opportunities are different, sir.
Yeah.
Those in Tamil Nadu know some software, automotive. But if you go to Orissa, they don't know automotive at all, and they have not heard of anything else.
You're right.
Fishing, for instance, there are landlocked states where they have never heard or seen a sea or fishing. A lot of things, sir. It's India is like very complex, sir. It's so when I go to Gujarat or Kerala, there are small towns, plenty of them. You go to Karnataka, there's only one big city, Bangalore, and then Mysore, and the other side is Bangalore. That's it. So it's a tough job, sir. I mean, in fact, compiling the data itself is a good exercise, actually.
So why I specifically said most of the IIMs, you go to any of the leading A-grade institution, everybody has got a placement division. Why not in the smaller where humanities are taught? You know, where such colleges you require people to guide the students.
That is issues are, as you know, budgets. The government is not allotting much budgets for either for medical or for education. So the NGOs are stepping in, sir. They are tying up with the CSR companies which have CSR budgets, and then trying to channel that money into something useful.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So maybe if you could look at something like that, it may work out, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Right, sir.
Any questions from the student side? We'll be more than happy to receive your questions.
You can also look at CSR funding from private companies, sir. Coimbatore have a lot of industries.
Absolutely.
If they're willing to take on your Rotary unit for carrying out their charitable or social activity, fund you're not, you'll have enough funds and you can easily manage.
We've been able to do a project with the partial funding from us through CSR.
Yes. It'll be excellent, sir, because you'll be doing a lot of service to the poorer sections.
Yeah, can I ask something?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, very nice of you, Dr. Paul Jayakar. It is
welcome, sir. Thank you, sir.
Really very great. Lot of information, a gamut of very interesting fields where the jobs are available, especially after the COVID season.
Yes.
Even before COVID season, it was not perhaps so many, and it was really quite interesting to hear about so much of information. And though you said you are with limited knowledge, I find you are too humble. Anyway, it was really great, and
thank you, sir.
Feeling about such a variety of the fields where something like the advertisement, the PR, the brand building, and things like that. As you said, what the students need nowadays is only the right attitude and the passion and motivation for all these various things. It's really quite nice of you to have told. In fact, it is also great learning for even for us. During already you said during our time we keep on applying. There is no reply, and we don't even get interviews. But nowadays we find the people are being called. They're coming to the campus, and their opportunities are very great. And not only that, the entrepreneurship is so easy nowadays. There are so many the capital ventures and people who are giving all this advance money and things like that. Only thing is you have to think very widely. As you said, instead of very narrow thinking. It is so wonderful, and you brought out a great field, a wide field of the activities which is available. I'm really thankful to you, and I wish the students make understand and make use of it. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you,
sir. Thank you, sir. Welcome, sir. Thank you, sir.
You have covered it fully. The sense the data analysis, it has become the talk of the world now. There are humpty number of jobs available. Understand, as high as 50 lakh jobs are available under data science, according to one study I read recently. And that is for mathematicians and computer science students. There is also jobs available for BA English literature in as technical writers. Because many people think, they don't have any job at all. It's not so. They have job. Okay, thank you for pointing out that. And with the political knowledge and political and history, they can become political scientists. And what I understand is that people have to be dynamic throughout. Otherwise, they may not be even fit for, jobs like even you mentioned about, say, a waiter's job. They must be knowledgeable enough. Okay, the degree does not matter, but they must be able to handle the digital devices. So they have to update themselves. So now what I understand is, in addition to being knowledgeable, you must also be skilled.
Yes.
Skill. Yeah, that is it. This combination only will work, and this has to be dynamic. Okay, that's what I understand. Oh, thank you, sir. So much of information. Thank you for you must have taken pains in collecting all this information.
Sir, thank you for the opportunity.
Which cannot be collected overnight, no. So thank you. Not only even I get to know that there are so many opportunities available, and as you told, we are all obsessed, we are all biased. Only certain things we see as jobs. We don't consider other opportunities as jobs at all, because we have an eye that not to look at jobs.
Yes, sir.
I think this will definitely make people understand that there are jobs available, other jobs available apart from the usual ones, and they will focus on those jobs. I wish all the students the very best in getting their placement and having their best careers. And I take this opportunity to extend my profound thanks to you, sir. Because
thank you so much,
valuable
sir.
time.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir.
Yeah, you have accepted to have this meeting in a very, very short notice. Thank you.
No issues.
And I must also thank Rotarian Subramaniam for coordinating all these activities.
Actually, probably he didn't tell us.
Yeah.
He used to be there in Engine Institute of Management Computer. He was taking care of the computer center for the teaching. And from 83 or 84, we have been together, sir.
He has been only coordinating as far as this particular program is concerned. I also thank Rotarian Prasanna Krishnan Madam, because she became involved, and even she tried to have students so that it will be useful to the talk, will be useful to a bigger group. So we'll keep trying, because these things more people should benefit from such talks. That is our motto.
Sir, yes, definitely, sir. Yes.
Yeah, and then this is the first program as far as the youth service is concerned, and you have done it, sir. Thank you especially for
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
And I thank Professor Maithili, Rotarian Maithili Madam, of course she has left, okay, for having done her part successfully. Okay. I thank one and all. Well, let us have the national anthem.
Before that, we thank our President, Dr. Amrita and Secretary Manigandan and also Subramanian for arranging all these things. It was really great. Nice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
So let us all sing the national anthem together. Let me start. Janagana mana dinayaka jaya he Bharat bhagya vidata Punjab Sindh Gujarat Dravida Utkala Banga Vindhya Himachala Yamuna Ganga Uchala Jaladi Taranga Tava Shubha Name Jage Tava Shubha Ashish Mage Gahe Jab Jaya Gata Janagana Mangaladayaka Jaya He Bharat Bhagya Vidata Jaya He Jaya He Jaya He Jaya 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 The Youth Service Speaker Meeting on leveraging placement opportunities in the industry is adjourned. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.